All right, let's call this meeting to order on January 27th, 2026, 6 p.m. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? It's to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Wood,
Here.
Councilmember Richardson,
Present.
Councilmember Arias. Here. Councilmember Kangeiser. Here. Councilmember Hess.
Here.
Councilmember Johnstone.
Here.
Councilmember Kaminsky. Here. Mayor Pinto.
Here. All right, can we get an agenda approval? Councilmember Kaminsky.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Good second. Councilmember Hess. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to special presentations, there are none. Moving on to public comment. If you do want to speak on either the annexation or anything else you want to talk about, please fill out one of these blue forms. If you don't have one of them, they're right outside, or we can grab you one if you need to. Just raise your hand. Other than that, is it 3 minutes? We have 3 minutes for everyone to speak if they wish. And we'll go. There'll also be an opportunity to speak during the public hearing as well for the annexation. Is that what we're going to say?
Speak just to the public hearing, yes.
Yep. And at least one of you have comments that you do want to speak at both. All right, let's start off with Wayne McCartan. And please stand at the podium here.
Yes.
Regular.
Try to condense.
We're in public hearing right now.
No,
No.
this is just for non-public hearing related items.
For the.
If you want to speak in either one of them, you're allowed to do so.
Correct, but if you're speaking towards the.
You were here, are you here for the public hearing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that will be when we get to that ordinance under new business.
Perfect.
You can speak under either one of them.
But they're here, they can, but they're here for the public hearing specifically.
To be clear, if you wish to speak at either of these, you can. There will be a specific point in the agenda to talk about the annexation if you want to specifically talk about that. So if you do not, I call your name and you do not want to speak public comment right now, you do not have to. There will be an opportunity for you to speak during the annexation portion, if that's what you want to talk about. All right, that said, Wayne McCartan, you wish to speak now during the public comment?
I wish to wait until.
Okay. Bud Strader,
Yes.
did you want to speak?
No, wait.
Okay. Robert Rothrock,
I'll wait, yes.
okay. Mike Kapinski,
We'll wait.
okay. Elizabeth Burton
Oh, wait.
and Margaret McLeod.
Yes.
All right, it looks like you have 2 items you want to speak with.
I'm only gonna, I'll wait on the annexation, but I wanted to, for the public record, talk about the Mill Crossing plat that's on the agenda, the consent agenda today. I live at 304 Longmire Street, Northwest, so I have been affected and involved in a bit in the planning process. But I want problems with this particular development to be publicly documented. First of all, I'm not sure why we're here or why it's on the consent agenda. I thought this was already a done deal in October. Does anybody have any idea as to why it's not a done deal? I mean, the utilities are all in. So I have no idea as to why it's actually what we're doing today with them. Does anybody know?
You can go ahead and ask your questions. We'll answer at the end of your.
Okay, that's fine. So, there's several big problems. First of all,
Go ahead.
is the density. There's going to be over 20 new homes on that little end of our block. Longmire Street is only 3 blocks long. And the density process, how extra density, the exception to more density happened, none of us knew about that in the neighborhood. We never had an opportunity to comment on that. I just want that on the record. The main problem is parking and traffic. So the parking is going to affect Longmire Street and Trump Avenue because there's no parking on Collins and there's no parking on Coates. So also these houses have no garages And there's no on-street parking on New Spring Street in the court. So I anticipate that there's going to be drifting over to East Haven Villa. They're gonna be using their parking lot. They're gonna be using CMAR's parking lot. You're gonna need to have more patrols, police patrols, to be sure that they're not parking on the street that isn't wide enough for parking as it is now. Also, the other problem is that Habitat for Humanity told me after we had our public hearing that they had offered to push it through to Collins. They had offered that to the city. The city apparently had a traffic study and the city declined to do that. But I think that I live there. That traffic study is severely flawed, given the middle school 2 blocks away and everything else that goes on there and that whole getting to 510. So I just wanted to get that on the record so you guys know when there are big problems, we tried to tell you what those problems were going to be. Also, the fire safety, it would have been able to shoot straight through.
Minutes, ma'am.
Straight.
Final thought, please.
Okay. I'm pretty much done with that, just so you know. A lot of you weren't here at the time, so you didn't know.
Just real quick, regarding why is this on the consent agenda? Gary, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I mean, the plat was approved, I want to guess 18 months ago by the hearings examiner. So it received its approval. After you get approval, then you go to the next step, which is you have to build the.
Audience, could you please not talk while he's talking? Go ahead, Gary.
After you get preliminary plat approval, which is in essence a final approval, but you still have to go out and build the improvements that are on the civil plans. So you go out and you build the roads, you build the frontage improvements, you do the stormwater and what have you. Once that's done, then our civil engineer goes out and inspects them and signs off on them. Only at that time do we do a final plat. So that's the only reason it's on the agenda tonight, that it's been inspected and approved by the civil engineer.
Gary, was there an opportunity for the public to make their opinions heard on that?
Yeah, I mean, we had a public hearing before the hearings examiner.
Yes, before the hearings examiner, but not regarding the density ahead of time.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to comment or move on? Is there anyone online that wishes to?
We do not have any hands raised online.
All right, we'll go ahead and move forward with our consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Councilmember Hess.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as published.
Is there a second? Second by Councilor Arias. Is there any further discussion on it? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. All right, moving on to new business. We have a public hearing, ordinance number 1142, the proposed annexation. Gary, would you like to brief, please?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, council. I'm Gary Cooper, Planning and Building Manager. I'm here seeking your approval of ordinance 1142. This ordinance would annex several territories within our urban growth area and at the same time simultaneously rezone them. So I'll discuss both of those. Both yourselves and several members of the audience have heard this presentation before, either at an open house or at the interlocal agreement hearing. But just for the sake of the record, I want to be thorough. So to preface this, as I've said before, the urban growth area was required by the Growth Management Act in 1990. It was created collaboratively with Thurston County, and I think our urban growth area went into effect in 1992. An urban growth area under growth management is supposed to be annexed within a 20-year period. So this being the first time that the city and the counties had done this, they made their best guess as to what would be annexed within 20 years. It's been 34 years. So theoretically, our whole urban growth area should have been annexed a long time ago. Shoot, I lost my thought there. But I guess what I was going to say is, so it's not a question of whether these areas would be annexed. It was a matter of when. So then the question is, why now? There are two main reasons. One is our housing need. And the second, as I've discussed before, is to correct some really irregular boundaries within the city. I've described the city's boundaries as looking like a puzzle piece. These areas that we're proposing to annex are more than 60% surrounded by the city, in some cases 85% surrounded by the city. They're almost county islands. But to get to the housing piece first, in 2023, the legislature amended the Growth Management Act to say that rather than just plan for housing needs, the city must now plan for and accommodate housing needs. So those two little words made a big difference in terms of what our responsibilities are, because they laid out in that process the things that we needed to do to accommodate for our housing needs. And that was roughly two things. The first thing was we had to work with the other cities in Thurston County, as well as the county, to do what's called a housing allocation. So based on our population projections over the next 20 years, we had to determine how many housing units we needed over the next 20 years. And that was a process that was facilitated by Thurston Regional Planning Council. The outcome of that process was that Yelm needs to provide 7,405 new housing units by 2045. By law, we're required to accommodate them by showing that the second part of this, that we actually have the land capacity to do so. So part two was a land capacity analysis that Thurston Regional Planning did for all of the cities. They analyzed the area that we have within the city. They analyzed the current zoning that we have. And based on their analysis, they determined that under our current city limits, we would fall over 2,500 units short of being able to meet our projected housing needs. Based on that, we're basically out of compliance with state law. So that's a big driver in annexing new territory. We sent to TRPC the proposed annexation area to have them analyze that to see if that would get us back into compliance, and they said it would. So that's part one. The boundaries issue is pretty obvious. It's really a matter of efficiency of services. As I've mentioned before, you can be in the city and take a step off the curb, be in the county and walk 300 yards and be back in the city. That 300-yard stretch is an area that the county has to maintain. So you'll have a road that the county, and I would note that the county's Public Works Department was very much in favor of this annexation because it's really inefficient for them to try to maintain these little strips and pieces and driving through the city to get to the other side of town to maintain those roads. So there's that reason. We've thought a lot about some of the comments that we've gotten, as we've gone through this process. And as you've probably all been made aware, different zones that we're proposing to annex have different characteristics. One of the zones that we've heard the most from is Zone 8. And we've evolved in our thinking about that. We're still recommending annexation, but it is a unique area. Mr. Alan McKenzie owns what I would call a heritage property there. I was there like 16 years ago when I was at the county and he was applying for conservation easements. I know how beautiful it is. It's about 200 acres. That area, if you do choose to annex, would be zoned open space. The reason for that is because it does have a lot of unique environmental features, and it does separate itself out from the other areas that we're proposing to annex for that reason. So in conversations with Cody and discussions with the mayor, if you do choose to adopt this annexation ordinance, we plan to immediately follow up with the residents of that zone to actually change the allowed uses in the open space zone so that they can continue the uses that they have now, basically make it mirror exactly what's allowed in their current zone, which is the RR 1 to 5, in other words, 1 unit per 5 acre zone. So that will alleviate, I hope, a lot of their concerns regarding agricultural uses. This area is uniquely suited to that. So we've heard what they had to say. Had a lot of conversations, most of them pleasant. And we've gotten a lot of good input from them. So while we still are recommending annexation, we've also heard what they had to say about that. Now, Cody had some other thoughts that he wanted to.
And just kind of piggyback off of Gary there, one of the reasons we want to do that is it codifies that zone. So if, God forbid a bus hits one of us and we're gone, that will be memorialized in the code itself. So those people will be protected under the code, not just myself or Gary saying you're good to go with what you're doing. So that was important to us to have that in there. The reason why I just want to talk a little bit about zoning and why it's tricky is it's currently 77% surrounded by city. The trail, as you know, we're working with Thurston County. We're in the last stages of getting that trail. The trail runs along the front of that property, would make that property 100% surrounded by city limits, which you cannot have at 100% surrounded by city limits property. So annexing it is like why we're still recommending annexation, because it will be 100% surrounded by city property in the near future when that trail comes in. And right now it is 77%. And there are some, I know there's some zone 8 people on the other side of the road that do want to annex. Even if we just annex those, it would make it 86% surrounded by city property. So you can see the confusion with that on there. And just a couple of things I wanted to touch on that I heard questions over the last couple of months as we've looked things out. And I know some of it was in FAQ, some was not. Water rights was a big concern about the city and how do we have enough water. If you'll remember in 2022, we received water rights from the state and Department of Health. That was with the recommendation from the Nisqually and Squaxin tribe to give us water rights. They both wrote letters of support for our water rights. We have 942 acre feet from those water rights, which is more than double what we currently had. And I'm happy to announce at this point, we're not even halfway to that water right. We're still under our original water right. So plenty of water to keep developing these properties, which is huge. In our sewer plant, the capacity was upgraded to 2.5 million gallons is what it can take. We're at 600,000. So we have plenty of sewer capacity as well. Again, nothing changes for these properties in terms of water or sewer hookups. They don't have to hook up. Even in Theron County, they still wouldn't have to hook up unless their well failed. And what that means is they have to drill a new well. The well fails to the point of having to drill a new well, not to the point where a pump fails or a casing fails. They can replace all those, but drilling a new well is considered a well failure. And then sewer failure, a lot of people ask, your drain field fails. If your tank, your pump, anything of that you need to fix or replace, you can. When you have to put a new drain field in, that's when your sewer tank is considered failed. And if you've ever, I used to live out in Tanawax Highway and my dad had to replace a drain field once and it was way more expensive than hooking up a sewer line to a sewer. So a lot of people probably would think they could hook up to a sewer line versus having to drill a new well field or a new drain field. So just some kind of the things I wanted to touch on to make sure you guys were understanding of and the entire audience was understanding about what we're doing with that. There's also going to be some, just with the code changes, there's going to be some areas we're going to look at in zoning perspective as they come in, with the bypass coming through and it finally looking like it's going to successful, it might make sense for some zoning areas to be changed that we had originally agreed with upon the county a couple of years ago. So you'll look for that too. That'll immediately happen after or if this annexation takes place. So we wanted to let you guys know both of those things.
Anything else from staff?
Just one last thing. So if you're wondering, how did we decide on the zones that we're proposing to rezone to? That came about in 2023 through a joint planning process with Thurston County. It's the Yelm Thurston County Joint Comprehensive Plan. So we need to bring those zones in as they are in that plan. Once we annex, then we can consider whether it'd be appropriate, like Cody said, to do some rezones in certain areas. And that's all I have.
All right, before council has questions, discussion, we're going to open up to public comment. The folks to say whatever they want, and then we'll go back to council and have discussion on council. All right, that said, we will go ahead and open public discussion the open meeting at 6:19. And Margaret McLeod, we'll start with you. We have 3 minutes.
I'm only gonna speak briefly to this. It's still not clear to me why this is an all or nothing thing and why zone 8 can't be excluded except for this Yelm Thurston regional plan or something like that. I'm still not at all sure why we can't approve of the annexation of zones 1 through 7 and just leave zone 8 alone.
Thank you. Elizabeth Burton Crow.
Good evening, council members. I am Elizabeth Burton Crow, and I'm here to voice my opposition to the proposed annexation of Zone 8 where I live. Last fall, each and every property owner on George Road Southeast, where the majority of Zone 8's approximately 400 acres are located, preemptively signed a petition against this annexation. Before it was even an item on your agenda, we said, no, thank you. On December 10th of last year, a notification letter was sent informing us of the city's intent to move forward anyway, based off the justification, not that Zone 8 would help contribute to Yelm's housing shortage, as I later learned, but rather aid in tidying up maps established in the early 1990s. Maps identified using urban growth areas that have not been reassessed or readjusted since. The next opportunity for public input was at the Thurston County Commissioners meeting held on December 16th. That approved the interlocal agreement that undergirds this annexation. Again, several property owners from Zone 8 were in attendance and spoke on record to make their opposition to annexation known. Again, we said quite clearly, no thank you. Next, we were invited to the city's open house event that, despite being held just 2 days before Christmas, was so well attended that the community center was standing room only. At this event, the city provided many explanations and assurances, which, don't get me wrong, are greatly appreciated. Preserving our way of life through non-conforming use clauses sounds like a great workaround, as well as the new things that have been offered today. I do truly appreciate those. But no, thank you. Now here we are at the second, perhaps penultimate city council meeting on this matter, and I'm here again to respectfully request that the city omit Zone 8 from its annexation proposal at this time. It is clear that impacted residents do not want it, and more time is needed to recalibrate and work together so that some bottom-up rather than top-down decisions can be made regarding the future of our land. Because let's be clear, this is no small proposal. You are wanting to annex some 1,228 acres in total, which represents a more than 33% increase to the city of Yelm's footprint. Zone 8 alone accounts for 11% of that increase. You are asking us for something, for a lot of things actually. You are asking that our acreage appear on your books. You are asking that we pay taxes to you instead of to the county at a time when they are facing nearly $10 million in budget cuts. We, on the other hand, are asking you for nothing other than, frankly, to be left alone. Look, I realize so much work has already been done to get us here, so many people working behind the scenes, and I truly do thank city staff for taking the time to engage and answer my many questions. But let's not succumb to sunk cost fallacy. Let's not impose on ourselves false deadlines or false choices, such as now versus never, or all zones versus none. You are not a rubber stamp. You are a representative of the people. You are free to modify the shape and scope of this proposal to account for the feedback you are hearing from the very community you seek to serve. Thank you for your time, your open ears, and your open minds.
For comments. Mike Kaminsky.
That's a tough one to follow. I'm Mike Kapinski. I was born and raised in this town. I own properties in Zone 8. I have interest in other properties. I understand, we all have families, we all have children. Our children grow, they have children. We do have a housing shortage. Our housing costs more money. Our lots are very expensive in town. There was a time where we'd buy lots for $10,000, $20,000 a lot. You're paying $150,000 a lot now. So if you limit Yelm's growth, you're going to drive the prices of every house in this town, which makes it more unaffordable for our families and families to come. So I own property in Zone 8. I'm for the annexation. So thank you.
Thank you. Robert, is it Rothrock?
Good evening. My name's Robert Rothrock. I've only lived in Yelm since 2000, and I moved from out of town to closer to town because of the roads and stuff in the county out in Clearwood. And I just wanted to be closer to work because I work on JBLM. And I moved closer to town, but I didn't want to be in the city. I looked at houses in the city, but I chose to live out into the county, which I'm in on Clark Road. To me, like I said, I wanted to be close, but I didn't want to. The lady did some great research. You're taking all this land to bring it into the city. Who says those people are going to sell their land to make up your housing shortage? It's not right. This is our property. We bought it in the county for that reason. A lot of people did because they didn't want to live in the city. They wanted to be close. And that's what I had to say. And that's why I came close. I love Yelm. I grew up on north central Washington in a small town. I could have moved back there, but I lived here and I decided to stay here because I like the area. And being military, working for them, I wanted to stay there close to it where I can help out my volunteer time at American Lake. It's hard to put our hands, our future, our property in your guys' hands. And to be honest, we already know what the word's going to be. I guarantee it. I just came to voice my opinion, get on record, and I want to see who the representatives are, because if we get pulled in, I'm going to make some noise on some of the things. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Bud Strader, is that right?
I moved to Yelm in 1970. I don't think any of my kids went to school with any of you kids. And all of mine graduated from Yelm. Yeah, I've lived in the same place on Clark Road since 1970. Now you want to bring my house or my property in for commercial. It would be up to me. If I was going to want my property commercial, I would approach whoever is the real estate people that handle it, and I'd put it on the market myself. But for you all to vote on our properties, bringing them into the city without us wanting them in the city, it's like these houses over here. There's 5 houses per acre. They're on Grove Road, to about 20 acres over there, 5 houses per acre. Down here by the fire department. You can't breathe or spit any closer than what those houses are apart. But you all let these people build. We want to keep our property, not for you to zone us commercial, but for us to ask you if we can go commercial. We can ask, any one of us, but we don't need you to sit up here of being new in the community, wanting to do for our own property here. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Wayne McCartney.
Good evening. I'd like to summarize my thoughts on why I believe that the current proposed annexation is necessary and a positive change for our growing city. Many of you have heard this a number of times over the past few weeks, but it's worth mentioning again. If you are among the properties that are being annexed, your lifestyle does not have to change. Keep your farms, your gardens, your well, and your septic systems. I've heard some people say that they are concerned that they now have to develop their land or are being forced to change. That is simply not the case. Property tax concerns have been addressed many times over the last several months, and we've learned that in some cases your property taxes may actually go down a bit from time to time. Yelm will continue to grow rapidly. People want to live here. Small, locally owned and operated businesses, including some franchises, also want and need more customers. With that growth, there will be some growing pains. I myself used to have what I consider to be one of the best views of Mount Rainier in the entire area from my front yard at our little farm in the county. Now I see the houses that block that view. That was just a little growing pain for my family, but we understand it was inevitable. Talk about traffic, considerable traffic will continue to move through the area on its way somewhere else with no intention to stop in Yelm. Hence the bypass that's coming. Local traffic will be mitigated through projects that will occur while new development takes place, not before it. You simply cannot put the cart before the horse when it comes to local traffic without it presenting a significant tax burden to the citizens living within the city limits. And with traffic, let's also face the fact that it's not just the number of cars on the road. Traffic is compounded by the amount of terrible, inconsiderate, and distracted drivers operating those cars on the road. Probably none of you know. I was born in Yelm. I see some of my neighbors here tonight that have lived here longer than I have. And if you've lived here long enough, you've also seen that much of the thoughtful and meaningful ways that our town has grown, particularly in the last decade. It has not been an uncontrolled, pocket-lining free-for-all that some wish to convey. The current and past city administrators, council people, and advisory boards take this inevitable growth seriously, and it shows. If you can, take the time and pay attention to these processes, and you'll clearly see that. A lot of people want to move here, and there are a lot of people that have moved here but don't want anybody else to move here. That notion grinds against a healthy community environment because cities either grow or cities die. There's just not a viable third option. So we might as well grow with purpose and with a plan and with initiatives that make Yelm an even better place to live. I'd also like you to consider your investment. With our rate of growth, the market value of your property will likely eclipse your tax assessed value eventually. Again, if you don't want to change a thing with your property, then by all means don't. Stay the course and realize the incredible gesture you'll be leaving your heirs or your beneficiary. Lastly, if you have concerns you'd like addressed, be it local regulations, ordinances, or zoning, from personal experience, I can assure you that the city of Yelm is hands down easier to work with, more available, and more responsive than any Thurston County agency. And that Thurston County agency is probably operating worse than budget. We all understand the growth can be hard, but it can also be healthy if done well. Thank you for your time. And thank you for shopping in Yelm.
Is there anyone else who wishes to testify?
Is there some people?
Is there anyone online?
We do not have any hands raised online.
Anyone out there wish to testify? Does anyone out there wish to testify? You do? We have one. All right. Yeah.
Hi, Robert Davis, Zone 8. I absolutely oppose it. We lived in Spanaway 3.5 years ago, grew up in a neighborhood. We tried bringing horses into the city, absolutely did not work, failed. We ended up being, with some court issues and everything else, we decided to run for the country. That's what we did. So we sold, after all the work that I did there, we sold to run out here, to be in the country, to give my girls their dream that they want, which is racing horses, quarter horses, right? It's what they've always wanted to do. So we move out here, we pay $171,000 more for our home than what the home listed for, because it was perfect for us, right? 3.5 years later, hundreds of thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours that we've spent on that, we have spent building that property. We put the fence in. We didn't hire it. We did it. Me and them two right there. And this is what we're ended up with. So now we're going to have garbage from neighbor kids and hundreds of cars throwing garbage bags out their trash out their thing that we are going to have to pick up that our horses ain't going to eat. Like the whole thing is just not, it's not good. We have a garden. We built that garden, we planted those, 30 something trees because that's the lifestyle that we want. We have 100, almost 200 chickens. It's a lifestyle that we wanted. And do we think it's going to change? We absolutely think it's going to change. Yeah, we don't have to get on a well today. Thank God I can still have green grass because I put an in-ground sprinkler system in too. There's a lot of things that in the future, I do appreciate their willingness to work on the zoning, but I think ultimately in the long run, I don't know what our future would be. We thought be here forever on that piece of property. So if we would have known, 3.5 years ago, never would have bought. But. Well,
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else who wishes to testify before we move on? All right, we're gonna go ahead and close the public testimony at 6:34. Council, is there any questions, comments? Starting with Councilmember.
I would just want to ask if Gary could address the issue of potentially leaving zone 8 out, or pros and cons of that, or just the bigger picture of that zone. Please, audience.
I mean, it's possible to do that, but we're strongly recommending against it for the fact, one of the boundary issue, the other is the inevitability of it having to be annexed when the city annexes its trail. Because once it's 100% surrounded, which, I mean, the trail is in the final stages of being transferred from Thurston County to Yelm. Once it is annexed into the city, we're required to annex that area. And that would just be a very short time from now. So the amount of time and effort to leave it out to just come back a few months later and annex it is something we would recommend against.
Councilor Wood.
Excuse me, you mentioned that we're required to, once the trail is part of the city, that's gonna be 100% surrounded by the city. Is that accurate? So I'm curious what the percentage is. Is there, I mean, is 99% if there's 1%, is that fall under that same requirement? I mean, is there a certain percentage that
where it triggers it as an island?
Yeah, well, once you hit a certain percentage, I imagine is what you're saying, we're required by, I'm assuming you mean by the county, correct?
By the state.
Okay, so the state is requiring that
annexation. Yeah.
What's that percentage?
The percent threshold for when it is considered an island is not defined in the statute. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions, comments? Councilor Kingheiser?
Can you speak to, I wrote my question down because it seems like we've gotten to hear so many voices, but can you speak to, you had mentioned open spaces, and I feel like I've heard that a little bit. So open spaces on private property.
Yep.
Does that I guess, can you just speak to that? Does that mean parks usable by the city, or does that still say private property?
Yeah.
Could you?
Yeah, I think there's been some misunderstanding about just that name of that zone because it implies that it's like for public use or something. It is not. It's really, it's designated as open space due to the unique environmental features of the area that it's zoned as, but it's entirely private property. It's not for the use of the public or any other people, not for the use of the city. It's entirely private property.
It stays private property. It's just designated as that.
It's just the name of the zone. We might want to think about changing that name.
Name belongs to like.
Councilmember Hess.
To carry on with her question, there's a lot of concern, and it's a lot from Zone 8, but I also heard from along Clark that when it gets annexed, it becomes the new zone. But if I recall correctly, it stays the way it is until they either do a major development on it or they sell it. Am I correct on that? In other words, if they hold on to it and they have farm or agriculture, horses, cattle, it all stays that way. Is that correct?
There's no requirement to change what you're doing on your property whatsoever after annexation.
Even if you sell it, it can stay that same use.
Okay.
You don't have to terminate the use because of a new owner.
Other questions, comments? Councilor Wood.
You mentioned unique environmental features. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
It's got a lot of wetlands on it. And it's got other unique features like Mr. McKenzie has a conservation easement on his property. There are a lot of, and there may be several, I'm not sure, but there are so many encumbrances that are either natural or they've been put on through conservation easements that it's never gonna develop. So it just makes sense to, you know, treat it specially because it is, Mr. McKenzie's property is a heritage property. I think they're one of the original homesteaders in this area. So it does make sense for us to go back and look at the open space zone to revise that particular zone to allow the uses that they have today. So agriculture, it primarily, I think, would be the main thing, but we would work with them collaboratively to do this. So coming up with the proposed changes to the zone, send it out to the folks, meet with them. What do you think? And do all of that before we even took it to the planning commission.
Other questions, comments? Councilor Arias, excuse me.
On that same question, after planning commission, the goal would be to codify this, you said, into code, into Yelm City Code, so that 25, 50 years from now, when somebody's looking at our code and somebody's looking at Zone 8, it's in our code. There is no changing that, right? That's what you guys are trying, unless it goes through the entire democratic process again of changing that, right? Okay.
That's correct.
Yeah. Other questions? Councilmember Johnstone.
Could a particular property owner petition to change the zoning on their property if they chose to? Okay.
Other questions, comments? Councilmember Hess.
Wanted to, in reference to services, by remaining as county, they are stuck with if there's potholes or road maintenance needs to be done, they gotta wait for the county to come to it. If they need law enforcement, such as an investigation, it's the sheriff that has to do it, not Yelm Police majority of the time, even though we have a good working relationship. So in reality, they're kind of still the same, but they're getting a little bit better, quicker service that's available to them. And no changes on how they are operating on their property because it's their private property at this time. Is that correct?
Yes, and I want to speak specifically to something, this week, Clark Road, you notice it had anti-icing, and I live on Clark Road. It has anti-icing on it. We did that because we know the county can't make it out and those corners get really bad. So it's something where we don't have to do it because the county owns it. We can let the county, but we know they don't get out to Clark Road and Mill Road. So we went out and anti-ice those corners because we knew they couldn't get out there. Similar with 104th. We do that for a lot of areas that are close enough to us that we know are going to cause issues, but we don't, if we hit a budget crisis, those will go away because they're not part of city, right? But we're providing service for some of those things that, yeah, right, would be easier in Yelm City limits.
Other questions, comments? Look for a motion. Councilor Richardson.
I move to approve ordinance 1142, annexing and rezoning several territories within the city of Yelm urban growth area as depicted and described in exhibit A and B of the ordinance.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Kainiser. The roll call vote, starting with Councilor Kaminsky. Councilor Kaminsky, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilor Johnstone.
Yes.
Councilor Hess.
Yes.
Councilor Kainiser.
Yes.
Councilor Arias.
Yes.
Councilor Richardson.
Yes.
Councilor Wood.
No.
Motion carries. Number 1143, adoption of donation acceptance.
You want to take a break to let people down?
Yeah, if anyone wants to take off right now, you're more than welcome to. If you want to stay, you're more than welcome to as well.
Now, there we go.
Yeah. Oh. I had something very excited about. Rock.
You still like it? Safe.
And I looked that way and I thought.
Thank you.
That's gonna be nice.
Switch to leave? All right, we're going to continue on with item B of new business, ordinance number 1143, adoption of donation acceptance. Elizabeth.
Mayor, council members, this agenda item is to consider adoption of a donation acceptance ordinance establishing chapter 3.46 of the Yelm Municipal Code. Currently, the city does not have a standalone ordinance that clearly establishes authority, procedures, and safeguards for accepting donations citywide. This ordinance is intended to fill that gap and authorizes the city to accept monetary and non-monetary donations for public purposes. The ordinance allows the city administrator to accept routine donations up to $25,000 and requires city council approval for higher value donations or those that create ongoing maintenance or contractual obligations. The ordinance has been reviewed and revised by the city attorney and is recommended for adoption as presented.
Questions, comments? Councilmember Wood.
Do you have an example of possibly one of these donations? Just to get an idea of what we're exactly talking about
I
here.
mean, this came up because of the Veteran Memorial Plaza. We're gonna have some items that we hope people will donate to. We have some bricks that we wish to sell. We have some benches. So then when I started researching, I saw we don't have a code. So I took the initiative and drafted this and sent the city attorney, and here we are.
Very good, thank you.
Yes.
Other questions, comments? Councilmember Richardson.
I was gonna move to adopt ordinance number 1143, establishing chapter 3.46 of the Yelm Municipal Code to authorize the acceptance and administration of donations, sponsorships, and memorial gifts for public purposes.
Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Hess. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, moving on to confirmation of Arts Commission appointments. This is we have a few different appointments coming up right now. There is 3 appointments here on this agenda. There will be more on in the upcoming agendas here, likely in the next month or so. I'll start with each individual as they're broken out. We'll start with item C, confirmation of Arts Commission appointment. Myra Pena. Is Myra in the audience by any chance? Okay. Myra has been part of the Arts Commission now for a few years. She's been a solid member. She's been her attendance is excellent. She's also part of a member of the EDC. She's a professional. I believe she brings a good perspective to the Arts Commission, and I am proud to make her my appointment. Is there any questions, comments? And we will go ahead and look for a motion. Councilor Hess.
Move to approve Mayor DePinto's appointment of Myra Pena to the Arts Commission.
Councilor Arias.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote for these. So Councilor Kaminsky.
Yes.
Councilor Johnstone.
Yes.
Councilor Hess.
Yes.
Councilor Kingheiser.
Yes.
Councilor Arias.
Yes.
Councilor Richardson.
Yes.
Councilor Wood.
Yes.
All right, motion is approved, or excuse me, the confirmation is approved. Moving on to item D, confirmation of Police Advisory Committee. This for Dustin Steffen. Dustin has been a member of the Yelm Police Force here for us for years. He's now retired from the Yelm Police Department, but he's served with distinction and I believe would be a good representative on this committee. He has my full confidence as well. And with that, I will look for a motion to approve. Councilor Arias.
I move to confirm Mayor DePinto's appointment of Dustin Stevens to the Police Advisory Committee.
Is there a second? Second by Councilor Hess. Start with down there, Councilor Wood, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilor Richardson?
Yes.
Councilor Arias?
Yes.
Councilor Kingheiser?
Yes.
Councilor Hess?
Yes.
Councilor Johnstone?
Yes.
Councilmember Kaminsky?
Yes.
Motion is approved, confirmation is approved. Confirmation, we'll move on to item E, confirmation of Planning Commission appointment. This is to appoint Ashley Brooks to the Planning Commission. Ashley has been a former council member. She has run for council before. She is very involved with different activities here in Yelm, including the Yelm Lions Club. She also has my full confidence. Is there a motion to approve Ashley to the Planning Commission? Councilor Hess.
Move to confirm Mayor DePinto's appointment of Ashley Brooks to the Planning Commission.
Is there a second? Councilor Arias. I do also want to say under hers real fast, I apologize. There was some concern that there was a conflict of interest due to her role in the commission, Thurston County Commission as a legislative assistant. We did reach out to our attorney and we did make confirmation that there is no conflict of interest. There is not it is not an incompatible office and there's no influence or control over the commission is what the legal perspective was. So just to be clear on that. That said, there has been a motion and a second. We'll do a roll call vote, starting with Councilmember Kaminsky. How do you vote? Councilor Johnstone,
Yes.
Councilor Hess,
Yes.
Councilor Kingizer.
No.
Councilor Arias,
Yes.
Councilor Richardson,
No.
Councilor Wood.
No.
Motion carries 4-3. Thank you. And congratulations to all the appointees. Kathy, our city clerk, will go ahead and reach out to you regarding different your positions and any information, relevant information with that. Thank you for your willingness to serve. All right, moving on to old business. There is none scheduled. Moving on to standing council committee reports, starting with public safety committee. Hasn't been a
No meeting.
public services committee?
Yeah, we had a meeting today, had myself attended and Councilmember Hess showed up as well. We had some updates. Again, we talked about the annexation, which we already had a motion and approved. And then we also talked about the 640 update. Basically, the plan for the road looks to go right through the heart of the 640. So Blue Fern has their concept map broken into 5 phases. The city is looking to possibly include commercial into the early phases, but Blue Fern is motivated and moving very quickly. And also there are, looks like 10-acre central community park within that 640 update. And so a lot of people are concerned about a central park. So there's a talk of having about a 10-acre central community park and solid with open space and trails, and suggesting about 25% for open space, although the only requirement is 10% by city code. And we are currently figuring out water and sewer and infrastructure and what it looks like. So it's a lot there. So there's three, and that's with that situation. And plus then we also talked about the JAS.com, which is the Joint Animal Services. I found out about this because I didn't know, people think, well, what do you have for animals that are running wild? It's a dog pound. It's this service. Basically, JAS.com does all the animal control in Yelm. Our current contract is up. City of Yelm is looking to be part of that interlocal agreement, which basically would be required for us to pay to be a part of, have a seat at the table, which allows us not to just be told what to do, but have influence in the policy, whether them just telling us what that policy is. And so before that happened, it looks like the city used to actually do that control themselves. And these guys were not qualified to do these things, and that's why they contracted out. So basically that contract is coming up and the city's looking to renew that, and not just to renew that, but possibly get a seat at the table and to have some influence on that policy. Beyond that, we have a comprehensive plan coming, basically December 20th, Planning Commission approved a comp plan. This will be coming to study sessions somewhere in March, basically the requirement of the Growth Management Act. And then there was another part on there that we talked about, which is three things that have to do with water. Basically, there's a lot of things happening with our stormwater. Stormwater is separate from sewer and separate from water. And we have the stormwater, which basically helps manage flood waters. So if you notice, while we had all the rain, Yelm did okay. Yelm did okay because our stormwater system is pretty decent, but there are some areas that need some looking into. So beyond that, we got some chapters in our water meters that are going to be needing some updates. Looks like chapter 13.04.220 is going to be looked at, and then water meter language that needs updated in our city code. And basically the city is currently doing a rate study on water, sewer, and storm, which won't take effect until January 2027. That was a lot.
Thank you. All right, moving on to finance committee. Is that Johnson? No?
No meeting.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm the chair now.
Good. They're a brand new committee, so this was the first. I had to think myself. General Government Committee.
Yes, had my first meeting today. We did have a little conversation regarding voting procedures, voting when we vote for things like appointments or things like mayor pro tem. and whether the procedure that we did follows what was appropriate. And staff did talk about the fact that we did talk to our attorney. We did follow Robert's Rules of Order. And so the process that we've been doing, that we did the last time, was correct. But even with that, I think there will be a desire from council to have this discussion, probably at the retreats, maybe follow up with the study session to really solidify what our process will be so that it is consistent and the same every single time. And then speaking about the retreat, we did talk about, we're planning for the retreat. We're looking at end of May, early June. So just a reminder to my fellow council members to get back to Kathy if you haven't yet regarding the dates. A little complicated to get us all matched up on dates. And then that's really the high level updates for that meeting.
Thank you. Moving on to Mayor, City Minister, staff reports. Todd.
Thank you, Mayor. Believe it or not, detailed information to share for once, but the departments are very busy, working hard and doing great things. So questions, let me know, but that's all I can.
Thank you, Todd. All right, moving on to my report. First, I want to welcome in all the new residents here at the city of Yelm. I know this wasn't the process that you necessarily wanted, but this will work for all of us. We will make sure it works for all of us. As we said earlier, we do want to make sure that your voices are heard. We do represent you now, and we will make sure that you're, we work as much as we can with you. If you want to keep the lifestyle that you have right now, you will go ahead and keep that. If you want to change to what the zone would allow, we will change that for you. But we want to work with you and make sure that you're happy as a Yelm resident. I had some meetings with legislators this week, as well as some staff. Is Elizabeth still here? Yes. Just left. Elizabeth, who has our projects and grants manager, she's been doing a great job of connecting us with the different legislators, going to those meetings as well. But one meeting that we did have in particular was with Rep. Barkis, who did confirm that everything is on track for the Yelm Loop. We did have a separate meeting with WASDOT earlier last week or the week before. Also, let us know that the current schedule is on time, that we will go to bid next month for construction. Representative Barkis also confirmed from his connections and what his thoughts are on as well, that we are still good to go and there's no funny business with the capital or the state trying to take away money or anything like this. We are good to go. I know that was a huge issue for City of Yelm, and I'm very excited to get that started and underway. It's been very difficult at times waiting for this to happen, and Representative Barkis has been great doing so, pushing this forward. Other than that, regarding the Mayor Council handbook, I think Councilmember Arias responded pretty well on that. There was questions and concerns on standardizing some of our practices. We do have a lot of work that the last General Government Committee has made on creating that Mayor Council handbook, about a year's worth of going line item by line item on what that could and should look like. And they made comments and changes. The council agreed upon that and changed that late last year. And if council does want to look at it again, that's your prerogative, and we will absolutely have another conversation at the council retreat on it. We did talk about it, like you said, in General Government Committee, but we will discuss it at the council retreat. And if council so chooses, we'll go ahead and do a study session as well after that, just to make sure that whatever the council's will is occurs. That's about all I got. Any questions for me? All right, we'll start off with council reports, starting with Councilmember Wood.
I attended the Transportation Policy Board meeting. We established our meeting schedule, went through our process for our elections coming up, and reappointed one of our business reps. I have a meeting on Monday morning with TCOM to evaluate our director.
All right, thank you. Councilor Richardson.
Nothing to report.
Okay, Councilor Arias.
I've got the Regional Housing Council meeting tomorrow, and that's it.
Councilor Kingheiser.
Since we last met, I got to attend the January 14th community conversations at the community center right over here. I think it's fantastic that you guys continue to host that at the 6 p.m. time frame. I just can't make that noon time frame with my day job. But there was, I think, 12 or so people. I thought it was a pretty good turnout. It was a little bit more of a intimate kind of setting. There was a gentleman that fired off a really lot of great questions. I feel like I actually learned quite a lot with as much as I feel like I really try to stay up to date and all of that. It's kind of neat just to be able to have that kind of conversation. So definitely the next one that comes up will be at that 12 o'clock lunch hour. Check out the city website, the City of Yelm government, or the Park and Rec's Facebook page. We'll be able to update you on our events and things like that. January 20th was a planning commission meeting. Couldn't quite make the time frame work, but I did go on YouTube and watch that afterwards. So I wanted to just draw that to everybody's attention, that the city is really pushing all of that so that you can be involved. You can see what's going on, what they are discussing, and what's being talked about. The processes involved in planning, code, zoning, future growth, all those types of things. And then lots of things coming up for the community, not only for the city planning, but also the chamber. Again, check out that city website, check out City of Yelm, the government pages on Facebook, or the Yelm Park and Recs to stay updated and have tons of fun.
Thank you. Councilor Hess.
From Intercity Transit, one of the big things that is happening with them in June, late June, they will be hosting the South Sound Regional Rodeo, which means there's going to be a lot of buses and drivers proving themselves and competing. That will be done at the Tumwater Brewery grounds. And also, another thing, we had a wonderful briefing about the year in review for the Village Van organization there. And it was really good to listen to. And when it's for, they look for volunteers to be the drivers to help take people to either work source courses or schools that may not have that capacity and they're not necessarily on a bus route. And when they got done, I asked, because they didn't mention Yelm having anything in Yelm. And so I asked if they could please look at Yelm, because I believe some high school students would really appreciate a van that shows up when they want to go to South Puget Sound for their course studies, as well as a variety of other people within the community. So they're going to be looking at that and hopefully be able to report that they will open one up in Yelm. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilor Johnstone.
I had my first EMS council meeting. We discussed facilities upgrades to the dispatch and radio rooms and training rooms. We discussed training and outreach and CPR programs for the community, and some fleet and equipment upgrades for 2026. That's about it.
Thank you. Councilor Kaminsky.
I had my Law and Justice meeting down in Olympia. We talked about the new Justice Center and / new courthouse that's needed over on Plum Street, and how they are going to the state looking for money, because apparently it's a huge jurisdiction and it's quite unique, the scope that the Superior Court has to cover the municipalities around it. They talked about the need for new standards for public defenders, so there's less turnover on that. And Commissioner Grant, thank you for coming to our meeting, brought up the need for a new crisis center, which is like a pre-trial facility where offenders can come in and get stabilized before they go to trial, because right now they just go to a jail, they're held in a cell, and they're just stuck, and they needed to be treated and not just let go onto the streets. Sheriff Sanders was there, and he talked a little bit about the chaos around ICE. And I asked him, have we had any arrests in Olympia on that front. And he said there had been about 5 pickups that he was aware of. And of course, we're a sanctuary state, so nobody's allowed to communicate with federal ICE agents. And he talked about a situation where somebody was pulled out of a car, the car was left running in the middle of an intersection, and nobody could do anything about it. So just the lack of communication, but our hands are tied, we can't do anything, which is too bad. And then I had my Nisqually River Council meeting. This is the most fun report of all the time. The tribes run the hatcheries for the salmon, and every year after the salmon spawn, they die, of course, and then they take the salmon and roll the parts, the dead fish, back into the river to supply nutrients back to the river. And this year they tossed back 1,300 pounds of dead salmon into the Nisqually River. And they use the kids and they get them out of the schools and they have a big old fish throwing festival. And then most of the meeting was taken up talking about the upcoming canoe journey, which is the annual tribal flow of canoes down the waterways to honor their old mode of travel. So I asked Hannaford, exactly when do they have to leave from Canada to get down here at the end of July? So the Indians in Canada leave about mid-June, get in their boats, and they canoe and paddle all the way down the coast to us. They have about 12 to 16 people per canoe. And they have a boat that goes along with them in case any emergencies come up. And of course, Neil Hannaford, he's talking about the tides and the moon, and it happens to be a salmon moon this year. So that was all in the flow, very good. So they'll be landing July 31st at a specific landing point, probably somewhere near DuPont. They'll let us know where it is. And so August is a celebration of all the tribes. I have been to one over at our casino area there, and they put on a festival. They all dance, all the different tribes dance and do their own thing. So it's really, really a lot of fun. And I asked him, well, are those canoes from Canada going to pull up at immigration anywhere and get checked? And of course they are. They get checked somewhere along the way. Anyway, and they are planning to feed about 8,000 people at the end of July at the reservation, I should say. So if you want any information on that, look up Nisqually Canoe Family or the Heritage Division. That's my report.
Thank you for the very informative report. All right, there's no executive session scheduled. Motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
There a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Go Hawks.